An illiterate bodybuilder is inevitably forced to resort to Russian roulette tactics in training. With mistrust by touch, he tries one or another technique, hoping sooner or later to stumble upon something worthwhile. He has no knowledge, and therefore he is not able to immediately make the right choice. Although with a certain knowledge of the basics of training, any technique can be accurately assessed by its description alone. As a result of unsuccessful searches, our illiterate bodybuilder has no choice but to go with the flow. As a training program, choose the one that is presented as the most authoritative. It would seem that there is logic in such a step. If the majority does this, then it is necessary, it is correct. But in reality, the majority are very often mistaken, and only a few are right. For centuries, humanity has been mistaken in believing that the earth is flat, and only Copernicus dared to say that it was round. In science, such a false situation is called ad veracundum, i.e., a reference to someone else's authority, in particular, to the authority of public opinion. By the way, let me remind you of another funny incident. For several centuries, in medieval universities, students were taught obvious stupidity, that a fly has 8 legs instead of 6. And all because this is exactly what one learned mind wrote in his treatise, whose authority in those days was considered indisputable. I agree, learning is not easy. However, anyone who avoids the effort necessary to acquire knowledge initially deprives himself of the opportunity to become a person. He will forever remain a faceless ignorant who accepts on faith any fashionable theories of noisy authors. It is worth recalling that Germany owes fascism to its educational system. The task of the German school was not to teach the child logical thinking, but to instill conformity. The main goal of Nazi educators was to destroy children's ability to think independently and thereby fundamentally deprive them of the ability to make critical assessments. The zombie people who grew up from such children were ready to pick up any cry of the Führer, because who am I to argue? If the Führer needs it, then I need it too. Why did I tell all this? Moreover, bodybuilding is not, cannot be, and will never be something completely opposite to the spiritual work of our mind. Lifting weights, no matter how nonsense it may seem to some, requires the same ability to reason and make assessments as any other activity in life. No one is surprised that before becoming a doctor, you need to educate your brain with much knowledge. Then why can you become a bodybuilder without understanding anything? No, those who are lazy to develop their mind inevitably pay for it. In particular, the low growth rate of your muscle mass. If you really want to develop your body, think about developing your mind first. Roughly speaking, the brain is the most important part of your musculature. If my book has already seemed too abstruse, too intellectual, and far from bodybuilding to you, do not rush to put it aside. Bodybuilding, I assure you, does not exist in a vacuum, not on the sidelines of our everyday existence. Let's think together about who is capable of achieving success in life, of climbing to the very top of life's achievements. To answer, there is no need to think long, of course, the individual. And bodybuilding in this sense is no exception. And in order to succeed in pumping up muscles, you must first become a person. And for this, you have only one choice. Either you consciously and purposefully work on yourself, enriching your mind with knowledge, or you will forever remain an insecure slave of your own ignorance. The random rubbish of other people's opinions and delusions, worthless promises and empty slogans will entangle your weak mind like chains. And instead of gaining wings of confidence, you will be mired in the abyss of eternal doubts